Hey, this is Spartan 300 Therm, and I like StarCraft 2 no matter how terrible I am at it. So, I already explained what the series was in the previous episode. If you didn't see that one, be sure to do so. And I actually got a bit of an April Fool's surprise in this match, which being, I saw a small article going on. It said, like, Warhounds are back. I never really knew what they were, but instead of being an actual unit, because they're saying that, like, every faction will get the Warhounds, I'm like, what would Protoss or Zerg do with Warhounds? It makes no sense. Protoss are supposed to be massively more advanced technologically, and the Zerg, how would they control a Warhound? I mean, I guess you got the Infestors, but, you know. So now, me and my opponent are just talking, like, what's going on with these drones, and, drones and probes. And apparently, they just turned the probes into Warhounds, and the drones, and the SCVs. Actually, I'm not sure if the not TR, Terrans, I'm thinking Plants out right now. Terrans got it, but it was a pretty funny April Fool's joke. So now let's just fast forward a little bit. Yeah, we're just collecting resources, nothing fun. He's about to build his, what's it called? What did the Zerg call it? What did the Zerg call it? Zerg nest? Spawning pool? Spawning pool, there we are. Yeah, so they build a spawning pool, I get my gateway up. And basically the way I like to play, before I go air heavy, is 2 gateways, a cybernetics core, and eventually a armory. That's what's called? Nah, forge. Dang, why am I terrible with this? So I scout his base, building a roach warren, spawning pool. Probably did scout it a bit early because I wouldn't know that's a, what's it called, roach warren. But even still, what else could it be, really? Can you do a hydralisk stand without a roach warren? Yeah, for hydralisk stand you need the evolution pit, I believe. So now I got these 4 zealots, and the opponent actually starts to scour the map with overlords. It's pretty interesting. However, it does put his supply in danger, because that means that once I get ranged units out, I can just shoot him down. And that overlord would drive me nuts, because he was scouting on me, and I eventually shoot him down. So we each go for our secondary base simultaneously. And here comes a swarm of overlords. I forget what he did with these. I recall shooting them down eventually. Yes, here they go. So now I pretty much kill them. I build 2 more pylons. And, oop, here comes the attack that I was about to say. So now, so he tries to raid me with these, what are they called, roaches, but I pretty much slaughter them horribly with my zealots. He tries to reinforce with zerglings, but they just can't do anything, because they're, what else, lings. He deals some pretty serious damage, to tell you the truth, but I get my gateways out. Forge is working hard on my shields and my weapons, because the way I like to use the Forge is that I always go for shields first, because what use are weapons if you're dead. I usually go shield, weapon, armor, and I have a tendency to forget about everything, so that's unfortunate. An interesting back here is that I always build a pylon and a photon cannon at the back of my base. I was about to say turret, but it doesn't really matter that much. I was about to build, though, I usually build a pylon and a photon cannon at the back of my base, because I had a very bad memory of, in a previous game, a person who was playing TOS. He used war prisms. I think you deploy them, that's what it's called. I mean, he deploys them, or whatever the equivalent is, starts busting in at, like, 200, what are they called, Dark Templars. He just kills all my drones, and I can't do anything about it. As such, due to that fear, I put a photon cannon at the back of every mineral field that is important to me. I was going to do that here, but I forgot, which is unfortunate. So, an interesting thing I did here, once again, I can't talk. So, an interesting thing I did here was that I built a nexus all the way back here, because he was scouting all this area with overlords. I didn't know that, but I was well aware that he was scouting. And so my theory was, if I have a nexus down all the way back there, he won't be able to see it, which was good. So now, compare our 2 armies for a sec. Look what I got. I got 7 zealots and 5 stalkers, plus an overseer. And what does he have? 4 roaches, 2 queens, and 7 larvae, which would technically be 14 zerglings, 7 roaches, and does he have a hydralisk stand yet? No, he does not, or 7 roaches. So that means that, technically speaking, at its prime, the army could pretty much, it probably could overpower me, but if I were to have attacked then, I probably would have won this game. Not much the fact that I have these warp gates. So now something I didn't show you guys was that I build the tier 2 structures. I think you'd call them tier 2. And what happens is that I always go Stargate, Robotics Facility, Twilight Council. Sometimes I build 2 Stargates, and a funny thing going on is that I have this observer over here, and I intended to scout his base. Unfortunately, it's considered, I was about to say counted as, considered a military unit. What happens is that if I select all military forces, which I believe is F2, I have them selected. I use move attack. I moved attack over here to take out this overlord, and this guy came back. And that happened repeatedly, so I never really got to scout his base later on. And he had no turret, so it would have been some effective scouting. I eventually get him, but the time I get him, it doesn't really matter. So now, I have a bunch of SCVs going down here, because the way I work is that once this base is fully saturated, or near fully saturated at least, I go to my next base, and what happens is I set all my Nexi on a hotkey. Nexi? I don't know. I set all my Nexuses on a hotkey, a little attack going on here, and then I'll have them all set to the mineral patch of the new base. I'll just hold down E, and then I'll have like 200 drones heading that way. It's pretty nice. So, I researched Blink, and this is actually the first game I ever seriously attempted to use Blink, and it didn't really work too well, as you can see, because I would have wanted the Zealots to take fire, not my, what are they called, Stalkers, which is unfortunate, but I'm learning. So, as you can see, more drones. I'm not really building that much more. I'm building a pylon. Let's see where that's getting built back here, because I always have the intention to put a photon cannon in the back, but I always forget. Okay. So let's fast forward a little, because just some base construction, you know, building some pylons. I finally get to scout him. I don't see anything new at all other than the roach warren, which I was already well aware of considering the massive amount of roaches. So now this guy seems to be going extremely industrious. Let's just take a quick review of the units we got. So my army is arguably superior. Well, if you consider how short notice he could bring up a larger force, we're probably about equal, but immediately my army's superior. Not to mention the fact that I'd kill a bunch of his guys before the reinforcements come in. So yeah, it's superior in my opinion. So, continuing. I'm pretty much just clearing up the map of overlords, but he's got a bunch. He's always nearing his supply, which is actually pretty bad considering how low it is. My supply is higher, but it's not nearly as filled. So now I start to build some more of the tier 2 structures, the more advanced ones, you know, like robotics bays, fleet beacons. I go for the Dark Shrine and Templar Archive. You know, strangely enough, I only built one Dark Templar in this entire battle, due to my lack of, Vespene. Because I always forget to do Vespene. It's my one weakness, and Toss really rely on Vespene. At least the way I play them. Actually, yeah, they really rely on Vespene. These Stalkers, they're 50 Vespene. Sentries, they're 100, which is pretty ridiculous. So now here, I attempt an attack. The Observer's coming with them, which is unfortunate, but I actually have recently decided to start building Observers anyway, because they're detectors, and if I have invisible units like ghosts attacking me, I'll be safe. So the attack begins. I wouldn't say it's a slaughter, but I pretty much win. Actually, yeah, it is a bit of a slaughter, because the Zealots are pretty much scrubs to me. I mean, as you can see, my mineral count is absolutely absurd. But my Vespene, not so much. Oh, I never realized that they have different symbols for the Vespene. I always knew if they had it for the supply, but not the Vespene. So now he attempts to build a second hatchery. He actually builds a second hatchery everywhere. It was a very interesting tactic for Zerg. I've never seen it done before, but I haven't ever seen that much Zerg anyway, so who am I to judge? So now my Stalkers almost get destroyed here, but I do manage to blink them away. When am I blinking them? There we go. So I blink them away, and it doesn't really save them that much, but it does get a couple extra shots on the Zerglings that actually probably save my Stalkers. If you look at their health, so they're pretty low. Going for that blink, I probably would only have like one Stalker left. So now I start attacking him due to his lack of army. He's starting to build some units. See, got a bunch of Hydralisks building up. He's also got this hatchery over here. I'd assume he's attempting to flank me or just cheese his way to victory, which is possible, but I wouldn't exactly call that entirely cheese because my main base is over here. So as you can see, I'm building Colossi and Tempest, not to mention a bunch of Stalkers. And he actually initiates a counterattack here, which almost won him the game. Luckily, however, I was building more units. So it was about here-ish that I noticed the counterattack. And I built more units here anyway, but it took me a while to notice that there was an attack, so I sent them down. He actually goes around probably assuming that an attack would come. I don't know whether or not he did this on purpose, actually, but, you know. So I got my Dark Templar. He can't see him. But it doesn't really matter. He gets around and tries to start attacking my mineral line. So let's see if he actually kills anyone. I never really noticed. But I do manage to warp in a bunch of new units, and that saves my mineral line. But yeah, I didn't lose anyone. So, quick maneuvering on my part saved me. So, then I go on a counterattack, and that pretty much slaughters him because I got a bunch of reinforcements here. Actually not, just 2 Tempests, but considering the composition of his force, these Tempests are pretty lethal. plus 2 Colossi coming up. Let's go back to production. So yeah, 2 Colossi, 2 Tempests. This battle's pretty much over for him concerning his lack of an army. Let's look at his units. Yeah, 2 Queens are his only defense. He's got some Hydralisks coming up, but they're not really enough. Plus some Zerglings. Here are those Hydralisks. Unfortunately for him, he goes around because he probably set them to move over here, and that gave me a few seconds of shooting that he couldn't compensate for. So I assume he tries to flee his drones over here, maybe hopefully survive, but that doesn't work. Got the Colossus following him, but that's only because it was a move attack. He eventually decides that's not worth pursuing. So my opponent GG's, but he probably realizes that he has a slight chance of victory. But judging by my army, not so much. Even if he does, I can just build a massive new force. Let's see what I got in hotkey. Okay, so I got 10 warp gates, 3 nexuses, nexi, I don't know what they're called, or at least in plural form. So yeah, I won. So this is Spartan. I am Spartan 300 Therm. A like and subscription are appreciated. See you next time.